So I decided that the best way to utilize Braden, since we have him here, and in case you haven't ever heard Braden's podcast, you should look it up. It's called The Gridiron Podcast. He does it with another co-host named Bryce, and they have had several different NFL draft podcasts, a couple of interviews with draft prospects, and a couple of like mock draft type of things to try to get you ready for the draft. And I can tell you right now, Braden is more informed on what's going to happen in the NFL draft than any of us are. So here's my thought. I wanted to come up with a mock draft, and I'm going to call it, I'm not really qualified. You know how guys like do a 1.0 and a 2.0 or whatever. I figure I'm about 1/10 as qualified as Mel Kiper. So I decided to go with mock draft 0.1. So this is Justin's NFL mock draft 0.1. And I got all 7 rounds, so I'm going to do 7 full rounds worth of picks. Yeah. And then I'll say what the pick is, and then Braden and Daniel, you guys can react to it if Andrew wants to throw. Why are you looking at me like that, Daniel?
He's kidding.
You don't want me to do all 7 rounds? I've got it all right here in front of me.
Can I just be the Philly fans?
I went through the work to type out 7 rounds worth of picks.
If you did it, then go for it.
You know what?
I'm going to go grab some lunch.
Okay.
I'm going to call your bluff on that one.
How about this? How about this? I did do all 7 rounds, but we'll just do the first 15
Did
picks
you
of the
actually
draft.
do all 7 rounds?
No, that was
Okay.
Holy crap. As soon as Braden sort of believed me, I felt bad immediately. No, I did 15 picks. All right.
That would have been impressive. That would have been impressive.
It would have been.
I did 15 picks, and so
You
my
didn't
thought
even do
is...
the whole first round after selling it as 7?
That's awkward.
Okay, let's go
If we
for it.
get past the 15th pick, I'm going to not know who to pick, and I'm going to end up picking like Daniel Hargrove as a wide receiver. Or
Get picks.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, so I'm gonna throw a pick out there,
Happened.
and then you guys tell me what you think.
okay.
You can grade me if you want to. Do you have a legal situation and need someone on your side? Let the law office of Jeffrey A. Damasiewicz be your advocate. If you've been the victim of medical malpractice, suffered a personal injury, or need representation with real estate law, small business law, or estate planning, let Jeff Damasiewicz put his 29 years of experience to work for you. Call Jeff Damasiewicz today at 360-612-3991 or visit damasiewiczlaw.com. That's DAMASIEWICZLAW.com. Pick number 1, Jacksonville Jaguars. Select Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. I think these first 2 picks, I'm hoping you pick the right guy the second pick, but I think those are the 2 most clear-cut picks, and then after that, it's going to get crazy.
Well, since mostly what I do is generally plagiarized, I do have the first 2 picks right. The second pick is New York Jets select BYU quarterback Zach Wilson.
The next in a long line of quarterbacks who are going to fail because they got drafted by the Jets.
There's a good shot that could happen, but I don't know. The Jets, they may have a good opportunity. They have a new coach from the Niners, Robert Saleh, and I think they're gonna they have a lot of draft picks like the Jaguars do. I think both teams have a chance to really build this year and potentially get better in the next coming years.
Okay. I feel strongly that Braden's going to like this next pick. San Francisco 49ers select Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields.
Interesting, because it sure seems like everybody's selling the Alabama quarterback
Yeah.
on this one.
Smoke
but
screen.
I was going to say, as we see in the draft, it seems like so often you hear things and it's just put out there by people trying to throw up a screen there to make sure that they can pick somebody else. Although, since they have the 3rd pick and those first 2 picks seem pretty set, why would they have to throw up a smoke screen?
I agree, yeah, but it's totally true. Smoke screens are totally real, and as the draft gets closer and closer, you start hearing the crazier rumors that never end up being true. But also, all the experts can say it's going to be Mac Jones or Justin Fields, and it could be a completely different pick. Like, when the draft starts, who knows what can happen, which is fun.
Did the 49ers already trade to move up into the 3rd?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
which would make it seem that they should take a quarterback. Otherwise, why would you trade up?
I feel like they're basically guaranteed to take a quarterback. It's weird to think that they would have traded up all those spaces. My initial reaction was like, you traded up to 3 to get Mac Jones? I feel like you probably could have traded up to 10 to get Mac Jones. Why did you do that? But then I also am remembering like all these times where teams trade up to get quarterbacks, and quarterbacks go like way earlier than you think they should sometimes. So NFL teams know like they have insiders and like they communicate, and like sometimes they have an idea what another team might do or what another team is interested in. So I feel like they're going to pick a quarterback. I feel like it would be really weird to trade all the way up to 3 to pick Mac Jones. So that's why I went.
No,
with
I remember the Bears traded up and got Mitchell Trubisky. I'm really hoping it's about the exact same thing.
Oh, where did he go to school?
Speaking of teams where quarterbacks go to die, what's going to happen now is Mitchell Trubisky is going to have a great career as the backup quarterback to
Awesome.
Josh Allen.
Good for him.
Yeah, he'll make lots of money and never have to get hit.
That's one of the best jobs in the world, right?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was one, though, where, like, even Tar Heels Nation was going, wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
Trubisky? Like, that guy we just watched play this past year? I mean, he's good, but not that good. Okay, number 4 pick. The Atlanta Falcons select tight end from Florida, Kyle Pitts.
I like it. I think Pitts is arguably the best player in this draft, maybe behind Lawrence. It's just, I think Matt Ryan's really declining, and he did not look good at all last year. So I think they should get a quarterback for the future. But getting Pitts gives you an opportunity to potentially win now if Matt Ryan figures it out. That's the only reason that would make sense for me.
Any opinion?
I heard he's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Pitts is like, he's listed as a tight end, but he
ran like a 4.4.
Is it fair to say he's more in the DK Metcalf mold?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's, like, physically, like, speed and strength-wise is kind of DK Metcalf-ish. Okay. And he didn't just line up at tight end. He lined up outside of Florida a lot. Okay.
I could see him being a top 3 tight end by the end of the year. And maybe he just busts out of nowhere, having Matt Ryan be his quarterback. But I don't know. I think he has a bright future in the NFL.
But you're saying I should draft him on my fantasy team.
Yes. And I keep hearing people talk about, like, the best tight ends in the league are never picked really early, and the tight ends that get picked really early are typically not really good. And since we're talking about North Carolina busts, Eric Ebron was one. The Lions picked him, like, 8th or something like that, and then he ended up... I already knew that he had alligator hands and would drop 1,000,000 balls, but somehow NFL teams didn't quite know that. But anyway, moving on to the 5th pick. The Cincinnati Bengals decide to invest in their offensive line, and they take the tackle from Oregon, Penei Sewell.
That's a smart pick. Burrow tore his ACL. He was sacked really, very often. Probably would have been more than Russell Wilson, which is crazy to say if he had had the full season. And a lot of people are saying that they might go get Jamar Chase, who's a receiver from LSU, who was Burrow's number 1 option when they won the title in 2019. But I think this is the smart pick, and if I were the Bengals GM, I would also go with Sewell.
Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, offensive linemen are a good thing to have, especially when you have a quarterback that you should protect. So, do the opposite of what the Seahawks did there, because you don't want him to set a career record for how many times you've been sacked.
So I seriously considered putting Jamar Chase in that 5 spot to the Cincinnati Bengals, but linemen are boring and great receivers are exciting, and I like the Dolphins. So with the 6th pick, the Dolphins select LSU wide receiver Jamar Chase.
Yep.
I found a mock draft, and so far it's been the same as yours on every pick. And so now I'm wondering.
You found the mock
Really?
draft that he copied.
So now I'm wondering. Yes, I just it was the first one I looked up, and I was like, "Oh wow, Justin's doing really good." And then I'm like,
What website are you on?
It's CBS, and I wouldn't
that's
expect you to have gone to CBS to do it.
Do you want to let the audience behind the curtain here? Okay, I pulled up an NBC Sports mock draft and a
CBS.
not CBS. It was more of a random, like, there's only so many 7-round mock drafts out there, and there was certain things, like there's certain players I wanted to be able to see through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't CBS.
Well,
But I'm not gonna deny that I plagiarized a lot of this, but also I picked these in the order I did for my own amusement. So
yeah, I was just surprised because I was like, I don't think he would have used CBS, but so far through 6, they went Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Pitts,
Sewell,
and Chase.
Okay, let's see if I got number 7 right.
Let's do it. Oh, wait. Do you want to talk about Chase real quick?
I agreed with the pick, and honestly, it's kind of weird because there have been a lot of mock drafts with Jones at 3, and so I liked that he picked Fields at 3 instead. And I also think this is your 15 picks without a trade. I think there's gonna be some trades, and things could get crazy.
Oh, I've got trades.
As soon as 4. Oh, he's already got trades.
I've got trades.
I think I could see the Falcons potentially trading the 4th spot.
Okay.
And
No trades in the top 10.
Okay.
Interesting.
I doubt it.
The Patriots aren't coming in the top 10?
Nope.
Okay.
Number 7, the Philadelphia Eagles select North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance.
Oh, it's finally different. They had him with Rashawn Slater, an offensive lineman.
Ooh, that would be a good pick, but Trey Lance is going to come in and he's going to squash this Jalen Hurts craze that's happening.
Wait, who's
Eagles?
making that pick? You said the
I
Eagles?
thought the Eagles were out. I thought they were like at 12 now.
Because this
Oh, wait,
says
hold
the
on.
Wait,
Detroit
they're
Lions.
So clearly I have made a mistake.
12?
I think what happened is the mock draft that I plagiarized had the Eagles trading into this pick.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That checks
So
out.
So
what
you have
actually
the Eagles trading up to that pick.
there's
then.
one trade in the top 10. The Eagles trade up, as I said from the beginning, to pick North
like you-
Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance. And, Jalen Hurts, I know that there was a really big thing made of how great he was, but really, if you examine the stats of what he actually did, it was not impressive. So I'm going to say they bring in Trey Lance. At the very least, there's great quarterback competition between the two of them, and then whichever of them loses, they can trade away for a 4th-round pick next year.
I just don't think so. I don't think you should go get a quarterback after getting one in the 2nd round last year.
What if the Lions kept this pick? Trey Lance.
Okay.
Okay, so with the 7th pick in the draft, the Detroit Lions. Hold on, let me type this in here. Detroit Lions.
I still don't even know if I agree with that one, but Goff is kind of bad. But they just traded Goff for Goff.
Did they
maybe
trade
that makes
for
sense.
Goff, or did they
trade
take
away?
Did they take Goff?
Yeah, no, they
Along with
they got an extra pick
Right.
because they took Goff.
Sure.
They were like, here, you have this extra 2nd-round pick, and just take Goff off of our hands.
Salary dump.
Okay, so the Lions now picking at 7th, Trey Lance.
That makes more sense
Yeah,
to me.
Okay, thank
but,
you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker for guys who didn't go to Power 5 conference schools
Yeah, you
that end
are.
up being good at playing quarterback.
Yeah, you
but
are.
I have a feeling I'm really gonna like Trey Lance.
Also, I kind of was just thinking about this. It would be weird if the Eagles took another North Dakota State quarterback because Carson Wentz was their last one, and that didn't really work out for him.
But I said the Lions are picking him. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. With the 8th pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers select Alabama wide receiver Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, a lot of people have been taking Waddle over
Wow.
Smith recently just because they're saying Smith's too small.
I hate that.
I don't. Yeah, I also hate it because Smith won the Heisman for a reason. He
Weighs
absolutely
166 pounds.
he made people look silly at 166 pounds. And the NFL is changing. Tyreek Hill is one of the best receivers in the NFL. I think Smith's going to be really good wherever he goes. And honestly, the further he drops, probably the better quarterback he'll have. So I think he'll be fine wherever he lands. But Waddle also really excites me because I think he has a chance to be one of the best returners in football, whether it be punt return or kick return.
It's crazy to me how 2 of the top receivers this year are so small when you look at Smith and Waddle, because Waddle's a 5'10", 182-pound guy, whereas the last few drafts I feel like were just filled with these monsters. I mean, especially in 2 years ago when Metcalf was taken and Brown was the other guy, and you're just looking at these monsters coming out in the draft. And this year it seems like it's much more smaller, faster guys.
That's true. And also, we think of Tyreek Hill as this really small guy. He weighs 20 pounds more than Devontae Smith does. But that's not to say that Devontae Smith can't go into the NFL and have an NFL training program and put 15 pounds
Right,
on
yeah.
and
Well-
weigh 180 or 183 by the time the...
Isn't Tyreek Hill also 5'8"?
I don't know.
I mean, he is significantly shorter, so that's a lot. The way they're built, Hill is built way sturdier than the Devontae Smith. But as you said, I mean, the league's changing. You're not getting the same type of blows as you normally would with how you're taking shots over the middle. They protect receivers so well. We've seen smaller receivers do pretty well, have decent careers, and now that the rules keep changing, I think Devontae Smith is going to be amazing, but I understand the Jalen Waddle pick here too.
Now that they can have single-digit numbers, they don't have to be as wide, Daniel.
Yeah, Devontae Smith has to wear number 1. Otherwise, he's just going to be swimming in his jersey number. Okay, at number 9, the Denver Broncos select the tackle out of Northwestern, Rashawn Slater.
Okay. It's never bad to get an offensive tackle in the first round. I think Trey Lance could potentially land here.
I saw that in a couple of mocks, too.
Just because I think Drew Lock would be the most uncertain out of, if you think about the Eagles, which you have now said they're not picking him, but the Lions.
Yeah.
I would,
the
I would
Lions
take
already
Goff
picked
over
Trey Lance,
Drew Lock
so.
at this point, so I think that may make more sense.
Okay.
And then also I've seen potentially like Micah Parsons, linebacker for Penn State. He could maybe go at 9. I don't know if they'll take a tackle, but it probably wouldn't be a bad pick.
Micah Parsons is an interesting one because, like, I've looked at, like, over the last several weeks, so many mock drafts where he's anywhere from, like, 6 all the way back to, like, 19.
That's
There
what
seems to be
he
such
is on
a-
this one, yeah.
19?
Yeah, he's 19
Yeah.
on this one, so yeah.
Like a
that's
really
huge
wide range of what people think. Okay. Next pick, number 10, Dallas Cowboys. All they can do is pick receivers, so they're going to pick Devontae Smith, the wide receiver out of Alabama, to add to an already loaded with probably slightly underperforming talented receivers because they have Amari Cooper there, they have Mike Gallup there, and they have CeeDee Lamb drafted from last year. So he'll be there. He'll come in and compete with those other guys. They'll line up in 4 wide spread offenses all the time, and they'll probably all perform a little bit worse than they should.
Which is why they won't do it. But that would be kind of fun to watch.
I would rather have them do that than what this mock draft says, which would be picking Patrick Surtain, and then they'd have 2, I feel like, really good young corners. So
Yeah, I think Surtain going at 10 to the Cowboys will be after the 1 and 2 picks. I think that's the most like clear-cut pick that the Cowboys are going to take Surtain.
thank you for very slyly correcting my pronunciation of his name there.
It really
I
doesn't
didn't
make
even-
any sense, though.
I didn't
Like,
notice.
So, but people don't just get to decide how their names are pronounced. Like, there's no rational reason why that would be pronounced Surtain.
Surtain, yeah.
Like, just because they say it's Surtain, it doesn't mean it is. They can't just decide how the name is pronounced if it's their last name. Like, these things have origins, and there are reasons why names are pronounced the way that they are.
Okay.
It makes no sense.
Usually
So
it's because
you threw in the
somebody-
origins thing because your name's super weird. But
My name is Polish, and it's pronounced like a Polish name.
And
Yeah.
usually the origin is that somebody at Ellis Island couldn't pronounce it, so they misspelled it.
that's a good point.
Okay, with the number 11 pick, the New York Giants select Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons.
That Giants defense is pretty good last year. They made the Seahawks look pretty silly. If you add a guy like Parsons to that defense, it would look really good. But I think their defense is already their strong point. I think they're going to be able to get a receiver right here because I don't think the receivers are going to go as early as you predicted. And I think they'll be able to get Smith or Waddle
That's
here.
because defensive players and linemen are boring, so I didn't pick them.
No, understandable. It's the point. It's point 1.
Yeah.
Your draft here.
So I'm realizing that I also relied heavily on the combine when I was looking up draft stuff in the past, and there was no combine this year, right?
Yeah.
So
They all had
I'm
pro
looking
days.
I'm looking at Parsons, and 6'3", 244. Is he kind of a throwback linebacker, or is he stupid fast to go along with that massive size?
I think he's pretty quick, and he can come off the outside sometimes and potentially be like an outside linebacker.
Okay.
He didn't play last year, which is like a lot of guys. Like Jamar Chase didn't play last year either. And Parsons also has had some off-field issues in the past, which is why I think there's so much fluctuation from where he'll be picked. But I think the talent-wise, he's there if he can just figure it out in his head.
Okay, number 12, and this is where it gets interesting. This is where the trades come in. The
trades you
Lions
knew about.
would have this pick, but instead the Miami Dolphins trade into number 12 to select North Carolina running back Javonte Williams, who this is my only gripe with your podcast, Braden. I've been through all these mocks. I've been berating you guys on Twitter about this.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams should be RB1, okay? Don't give me Najee Harris. Don't give me Travis Etienne. I don't want that. I just show you this one little highlight where Javonte Williams trucks a guy, hurdles a guy, and spins around a guy in the same run.
Pretty
RB1.
awesome. I think he's going to be good too. But also, it's not my opinion that's gonna matter when I'm giving like my insight. It's based off of what I'm hearing and what I think the GMs will do. But I do like how we're only gonna do the top 15 picks, so you traded them up because the Dolphins could have easily taken them at 18 where their pick is.
No, he would have
You're
been
only doing
gone,
your top
actually.
15.
He would have been.
So you had to trade them up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah, I caught that. Yeah,
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, Javonte Williams, RB1. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
but I do like the Dolphins taking Najee Harris at 18,
Yes.
and I do think they should take a running back.
I don't want Najee Harris. Okay. Next one. We have another trade.
Oh, I love it.
That number 13 would have been the Chargers, but the Tennessee Titans trade into the 13th pick to take North Carolina linebacker Chaz Surratt. Surratt is a converted quarterback who mostly has third-round grades, but he's been flying up my mock draft board all day. And he ends in the 13 spot because there was so much buzz around him, and he'll fit in with a Titans defense that was god-awful last year, and he'll make them better immediately.
Yeah, another guy that they probably could get in the second round, but
Or third. But I told you that there was a lot of buzz, and he was flying up my draft board.
yeah.
Where did he go to school again?
North Carolina.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that I heard that, but I was laughing too hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a quarterback his freshman year, and they converted him to linebacker, and he became one of their best defensive players. Okay, next pick. At number 14, this would have been the Minnesota Vikings, but instead the Seattle Seahawks trade all of this year's draft picks and 2 of next year's draft picks to select North Carolina wide receiver Daz Newsome. He is a slot guy with capability to do returns on special teams, which those things will fit in with exactly what the Seahawks need. And they won't have any picks over the next couple years, but they'll have exactly what they need in Daz Newsome to fill out their offense. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
I would rather the Seahawks trade up and take the North Carolina backup O-lineman over him because that's how much we need a lineman compared to a receiver right now.
Well, okay, so I looked at several 7-round mocks, and I couldn't find Daz Newsome in any of them, so they potentially could even wait until the draft is completely over and then just sign him. But
first round's a better option.
I felt like this was, you got to make sure you get him. He's your guy.
Got to get your guy.
Yeah.
You really quick. Okay, that was pick 14.
Yeah.
And you're going through 15. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll wait to ask Braden a question there because he brought up something that I thought was kind of interesting with that last comment. So
Okay, this is the
finish
most
it out.
logical pick of the entire draft. The New England Patriots select Alabama quarterback Mac Jones
And
to
that's
be the
where-
next Tom Brady.
That's where this has him going as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did I win?
Yeah, you won.
What did you win?
So, Braden, do you have any more comments about Mac Jones really quick going to the Patriots? Would that instantly turn him into like the next Tom Brady because he'd have a great a great coach that could help him turn him into a success?
I'm sure it'd be good. It'd probably be a good combination, but I think Jones probably should go at 15 or later, but I think he's going to go way earlier. Somebody's going to trade up and get him or just select him with their pick in the top 10.
And then probably regret it.
Yeah, and just because quarterbacks are going to go so quickly. I think 5 quarterbacks will go in the first 10 picks, as much as they probably shouldn't.
That's going to be a real benefit to the teams that are picking in that, like,
Oh, yeah.
8 to 15 range that don't really need quarterbacks
They're gonna
because
get
all
really
the
good
best players in the draft are just going to end up sliding down. And then then this happens a lot. Like the quarterbacks who get picked at the very top of the draft are not nearly as good as they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And those teams continue to be bottom dwellers because they don't support them properly,
Yeah.
which is why I've felt, and I think we talked about this a while ago too when we were talking about the Dolphins and Tua, is that it feels more logical to me when you're bad to try to build like from the inside out, like build your offensive line, then get some good skill position players, and then plug in your quarterback. Since everybody wants to try to win with the quarterback in that 5-year rookie window, it seems to make sense to me to build that first before you go in for a quarterback. But
I agree. Yeah, unless you're at like a top 3 pick when you know you're going to get, for the most part, and I know history has told us otherwise that like Jared Goffs of the world have not panned out. But I think Trevor Lawrence this year is the clear-cut guy at 1, and I know the Jaguars could go a lot of other places to help out their team, but getting Lawrence makes sense then.
Yeah. And really, I mean, realistically speaking, if any of these teams don't find the quarterback they want in this draft, they can just suck for Sam for 1 year. And then next year they can select Sam Howell from North Carolina first overall.
Hey, he's going to be a first-round guy, maybe even top 10 guy. So
I have seen him as the number one pick, and this isn't me just.
No, yeah,
this
actually, I've
isn't
seen
me
that
being
too.
a homer. He literally is the number one guy on a lot of next year's mock drafts right now. But also, people are saying it's a really weak quarterback class next year compared to this year,
yeah.
which is why there could be, like you were saying, maybe 5 quarterbacks in the top 10. A lot of analysts believe that people are going to make a run hard on a quarterback this year because they don't think there's as much talent at quarterback in next year's draft.
Mm-hmm. Which will be fun. That's why I think the first 10 picks especially are going to be a lot of just, you never know what's going to happen. It's going to be a lot of fun players, like fun offensive athletic players that are going to go. So I'm looking forward to it.